where would I like to start? Let's start with this purpose, because I know we were talking about authority last time. I'm not sure how the issue of purpose fits into this authority.
Okay.
So I'm really eager to what you have in mind over there.
Okay. Well, let's look at the points of authority that I was talking about as techniques of
Mhm.
play.
Okay.
So they're just proceed that's one of the principles that's involved in the way we have procedures. So if we are
Hmm.
playing, there are some procedures that we are using, and one of the things that those things do is distribute authorities and constrain them. So it's your turn to talk,
Hmm.
but this is the constraints you're dealing with. And I'm not talking about like massive anything dramatic. Just saying I rolled a hit is an excellent example. You are the one who gets to say whether you hit or not. What do you do? I'm hit, so I'm going to roll. So you
Hmm.
get to say you hit. That's an authority. No one else is saying he hits, he doesn't hit. Right? It's not their business. It's
Hmm.
your business. And number one, and then number two, you like everybody else at the table has embraced the idea that when you use that particular authority, you're going to operate by some constraint, and that constraint is provided by this little die you're going to roll. Okay,
Hmm.
so far so good. So it's all just techniques. It's all just the organization of just how we say things happen. And so therefore, authority and resolution methods and the organization of action, which is a whole set of terms, and a bunch of other things like that, are really not very uh, purposeful all by themselves. Okay,
Hmm.
they themselves, I mean, this one game could have something where you read a die as a constraint on what you say, and this other game could have the same thing, but those two games can have two very different purposes, right? So we
Okay.
really
So to try to attempt to get it into my much less educated point of view. So, for example, when we are having, I think it's called full resolution system, where you roll a die, and six is yes and, six is five is yes, four is yes but. So
okay,
that's
go
a
on.
constraint on the outcome.
Sure it is,
Okay.
because there is no outcome until someone says it in play, right?
Hmm.
I mean, you can say I roll 18 points of damage, but it doesn't mean the goblin is dead until someone says, "Oh, that means he's dead." Someone
Hmm.
has to say what happens.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it doesn't happen in play. Period. So, therefore, all of those things, all instrumentation, all of those things are constraints. Now, we can also talk about constraints on the authorities. You can say, well, um, I can say how the next scene is going to start. It's my job to do it,
Hmm.
but we can talk about fictional constraints. What has happened so far should be a proper constraint on anything I say happens next, right? I mean, I can't just
Hmm.
suddenly say, all right, everybody's alive again. Let's keep playing. Everybody will look at you and say, wait a minute. No, it's another knot.
Hmm.
So the idea of constraint is not very difficult to understand, and it shouldn't be considered a straitjacket. It's just that you're not making up everything you want at any moment the way you want, because that would
Hmm.
be no fun. So, all right. So, those are all just part of keeping the medium of play moving along.
Hmm.
Now, let's say we were playing a game and you're playing with the people and with the procedures. You can call it the system. Perfectly good rule for it.
Hmm.
A good name for it. Um, and there is no stress. Nobody has any difficulties knowing whom to listen to. Nobody has any difficulties knowing when their talking is welcome to the person that they will be listening to. They know when they are the person who needs to be listened to.
Hmm.
They know what constraints are involved on all of these things, which may be very different from game to game to game. And they also are excited about the topic. They like their characters. They like the setting. They like, what happened last time. They
Hmm.
like, there is. enjoyment from the way they have done it, and specifically knowing that they did it. Right? They can trace what happens to their decisions that they made.
Mm-hmm.
They can trace it to the constraints in operation. Oh man, I totally rolled a fumble that one time, and that changed everything. Right? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
these are all good things. They can look back on it and they can say, this is what happened in our game, and this is how we got there. If we had been using some other different system, it wouldn't have got there like that. If we were playing with different people, or just our own selves on a different night, it wouldn't have turned out like that. So you can look
Mm-hmm.
back and you are well aware that you were involved in how this all happened. And you liked it. The imagery going in was pretty cool, but the imagery coming out and how everybody looks now and how the situation looks now, maybe rules that have been unlocked that were not available before, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things, you're actually more excited about the way it looks now than you were about it coming in originally.
Mm-hmm. So you're describing a perfect
No,
game session and a perfect situation.
actually, that's very interesting. You would say that. To me, this is baseline. This is baseline. This is what I come here for. Now, that doesn't mean that we're brilliant every time, that we've made a great story or anything like that every time. I mean, nobody's paying me to be, that good.
Mm-hmm.
So, and no practicing group sort of casual enjoyment activity is going to be genius every single time, right? We know that.
Mm-hmm.
There you can have a bad night, an off night. Yeah, I was impatient. Yeah, I was rude. I was too tired. You can that can happen, and in
Mm-hmm.
the fullness of time, it's considered ordinary for people to have their ups and downs. So when you talk about perfect, I'm not really talking about perfect in that sense.
Okay.
I'm talking not in terms of peak input, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
in terms of peak content. That's not really what I mean. I just described enjoying ourselves, that we did it and that we are here where we came with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really not that high a bar. It shocks me, it always has, that that's considered to be like the impossible dream, the amazing play, right? That we can only sort of hope for and experience 5 minutes at a time sometimes. And so it doesn't mean I have high standards. I'm just kind of shocked why so many people seem to have no standards. So therefore, I want you to tell me about an experience of play in which this was reasonably consistent through sessions or the times that you played the game with these people. It was just, you look back on it and you can imagine what happened and you think about how things turned out and you like the way they look, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely can remember such session. It was with people with whom I played before, whom I consider friends,
Mm-hmm.
and we were playing Apocalypse World. It was really fitting. Every every time we wanted to do something, there was a procedure we could follow. The outcomes were all over the place, bad, horrible,
Right.
good, amazing, and it all contributed to having this cool story.
Did you play a character or were you the master of ceremonies?
I was the MC. I'm usually the MC,
Okay.
so
What were the playbooks? Do you remember?
there was an angel who was dabbling in using the patients to open the maelstrom. There was a Skinner who was an artist, and she was desired by a lot of people in power to have her for themselves. Was the water bearer who had like the source of holy water and all of their this like temple just next to the town, and it was causing some issues with the town. Mm, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to remember who was the fourth player, which was the fourth playbook. And for now, it's keeping my mind.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm saying this simply because I'm getting an idea of the different interactions that characters may have had, and you already answered that even without me asking, which was given a certain playbook, what particular problems became intrinsic to the situation, right? And so, with all of that in mind, um, now and only now can we talk about purpose of play.
Hmm.
Only now we can say, what did we as humans do this for? And if you have trouble getting the medium of play uh, established and just knowing what happened and knowing who says what or whether that's legitimate or people sort of working it so that they get more advantage, than out of not sort of legitimately working it so that they, stack up what they need to stack up, but they are actually sort of bullying or sneaking around other people socially in order to
Hmm.
manipulate play. So we don't have any of that, because if you do, or if you have one of those dreadful situations where people don't know where their characters are and don't really know who the other characters are and don't really care anymore, and sort of barely pay attention, and they're texting and look up when they're told it's their turn to hit, and they're like, oh, okay, I rolled a hit,
Hmm.
whatever. That's not really play, right? That's just zilch activity. They could be doing anything instead of a role playing game, and it would look exactly the same. And who cares?
Hmm.
Who cares? I'm not interested in that. Is purposeless play. The term that was used at the Forge for it was called zilch play. So we're not talking about zilch play. And we're not talking about play that's just struggling just to figure out what on earth is happening.
But on the
So
topic of zilch play, I'm really interested because I think I've read it and it mostly described the con play as somehow of a zilch play, and I'm really curious because usually at least one person wants to play something like the game master. They usually will have some sort of plan or some idea where the game can go. So it's just that the approach of the players destroys everything.
well,
The
it
people who
depends.
come to the table
It
have
depends.
weird.
I mean, what you just described about that game master doesn't tell me anything. I mean, we don't know whether, first of all, why is the game master supposed to be sort of in charge of any of that? Second, why do we? I'm not really talking about their idea for where play is supposed to go. I'm talking
Mhm,
just about the idea that everybody is reasonably happy to be there and to listen to one another and to incorporate what they hear into what they say next. That's all. And if you
mhm,
don't have that, then I like to speak about this, as always, in my analogy to music. If we are all playing and we have our different instruments, like your instrument might be like the game master, that's your instrument, another person,
mhm.
stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
if we are here to do this together, we came to do this. And strangely, one or more of the people in question aren't there to do that. They're happy to hang out and they're happy to wear their instrument, right? Like a guitar around their on their strap,
Mhm,
but they're just wearing it.
mhm,
And they would just want to hang out, or they might not even really, but they're not there to play. Now, if
mhm.
you're a musician, what do you do with people like that when it's your Saturday night to go out and jam and have fun?
No idea.
You don't do
Ditch the
much.
ones who
No,
you ditch the ones who don't want to play and just go
right?
alone.
Exactly. You ditch them. You do. And you'll play with people that you may not, be as good friends with, or something like that, right?
Mhm,
You'll play with the people who are there, who are actively, there to do this too.
mhm.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, when we talk about purpose of play,